Hello guys, my name is Khan, and actually in today's video we will talk about how you can blend data in Google Data Studio. So before moving towards Google Data Studio, I will show you guys a very small example in Excel that how data blending works. So suppose we have this data one in a separate data set, and this data set is about a questionnaire. So we conducted a questionnaire in a household, and for each household we have captured the following responses for the given questions: question number one, question number two, and question number three. But suppose your survey team have given you this data in one file, and but after few months or after a time later they shared another data set about the question number four responses. And suppose if you want to combine those two data sets in Google Data Studio, how you can do this, we will talk about it in a bit later. But suppose if you blend this data set, there is a one thing to note down, that not always you will be having all the observation exactly the same in both data sets. Suppose in this, in for both data 1 and data 2, the identifier variable is actually household ID. But here you can see that the household ID 1, 2, 3, 4 are present in both, but household ID 6 is missing in data 2, whereas the ID 5 is missing in data 1. So how such kind of scenarios Google Data Studio will handle, we will also discuss it a bit later. But here in the below I have a table for you guys in which once the data got blended, it will looks like this. But the point note here is that the data 2 don't have the data 1 don't have the household ID 5, therefore they're missing values. So once we blend data in Google Data Studio, we will be having only the observation which I am highlighting in red. So once we will blend the data, the Google Data Studio will ignore the household ID number 5, which is coming from data 2. And it also depends how you blend your data. So suppose if you're blending data 1, so you have selected data 1 first, that data will be considered as the master data, and all the observation will be shown according to the data 1. So if any observation got matched from data 2, it will be also represented after data 2 after blending. But if there is an ID which is not present in data 1, that will be ignored in Google Data Studio. So I think it's better to move toward Google Data Studio. I have already created CSV file for data 1 and data 2, which will be having exactly the same information which you can see in this Excel sheet. So let's go to Google Data Studio. So the first thing is that I will be creating, so I think it's better to remove some reports that I have created before so that you guys don't get confused. So I'll just remove these files first. Also this one. And I think I will also delete before starting my new report. Because I want to start from the beginning so that you guys able to understand what I am doing. So I will go to my reports and I will start creating a new report. So the first report, actually for this video I will be creating two reports. So let's say report 1. So in my report 1 I will be creating data tables to show you guys that how blending works. Whereas in my second report I will be creating a graph and I will be showing how you can blend data through the graphs. So let's start. So the first thing is that I will create new data source. My data is within my computer. Select it, I will click to upload files. These are the data files. The first file I need is data 1. And it's uploading. The processing is complete. Once it will be done, I will click this connect button. So connect. So as you can see in this data set, I have household ID question number 1, question number 3. I will say add to the report, again, and after that I will insert a data table to show you guys that what kind of data this table have. So I have data 1. I will add household ID in the dimension, remove it, and I will add matrices. Under the matrices I will add question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. So as you can see, under this data table we have exactly the same observation data that we have in our Excel sheet. Maybe the sequence is a bit varying, but the data stays same. But now let's see if I want to create another data set. So let's see if I create another data table. But for this I want to create it from the data 2. So what I will do, I will just cancel this data selection. I will say select data source. Again I will say create new data source. Then I will be saying select file upload, and this time I will be uploading the data 2 using open. It's loading the data, processing. Once the processing is complete, I will connect it with the report. And now connected. And this is the data 2, which is just question number 4 and the household ID. I will say add to the report, and now select it. I will add the dimension is my household ID for this data table, and with the matrix I also want question number 4. I will add it. So you can see that I have 2 tables. One is from data 1, whereas as you can see here, when I selected this table, it's showing that it is created from data 1, and this is from data 2. But suppose I want to create a data table which will be having data from both these data 1 and data 2. It's very simple. What you can do is that simply if you select the data 1, the table, and you say duplicate it. Once you duplicated it, I will make it down a bit, and after doing it, what I will do, if you see here, I have selected this data table. Here there is an option blend data. Let's click this. So once I clicked it, it's showing me that do you want to add another data source? I will say yes. I have already added data 2, so because I want to add data 2 into my data once, because I want that both question number 1, 2, 3 and also question number 4 appear in the same table. Therefore I need data 2. So I will select it. So once I select it, there is a field joint key. Both in my above data tables, the key variable or the point of the common variable based on which I can merge or blend data is based on household ID. So that's why the join keys are household ID. I will just select it, paste it here, and I will do the same for data 2. I will identify my join keys, but I will cancel it because the sequence of join keys also matters. So I will say delete it first, and now if I add join key, so now under the matrix I want question number 4. So for data 1, Google Data Studio already have added question number 1, 2 and 3 under the matrix. So I will say save, close it down. So I have to just update my dimension. So I will add household ID as a dimension. So you can see that based on my blending, we have able to create a data table which is getting the data from 2 different data sources. So in this way, you can see that you can easily by using blending, you can merge the data set and you can use for your dashboards. So this is my report 1, but I will show you guys now that how you can blend data based if you are creating charts, graphs. So this is we have done through data table. Blending data through the graph is also very similar, but I will give you another example, because in that example the key variable, the key join variable is a date variable. So, and mostly that example will be more useful especially when you will be using Google Analytics data, because in Google Analytics most of the time the data set are based on date variable, or the key identifier in those data sets are the date variable. So let's go back to the main page of Google Data Studio, and now I will create a new report and I will name it for report 2. And now what I will do, I will first show you guys that what are the data sets that I will be using. Actually, I have 2 market data. One, actually these 2 data sets are the data coming from about 2 indexes. So let's say if I open it up. So this is the price index about some market data 1, and I have another data set, market data 2, which is about the second index. So we have the market price index for the second data set. So first what I will do, I will create graphs related to them, and I will import the data sets into Google Data Studio first. So let's import the data into Google Data Studio first. So what I will do, I will go to create new data source, as it's my new report now. I will select file, click to upload files. First I will be using market data 1, upload it. It's uploading, processing. Once the processing will be done, I will connect it to my report. This is a big data set, so yeah, got uploaded. So I will say connect. So I have 2 variables in date variable and price index. I will say add to report again. And suppose now the first thing I want to create is I want to create a time series graph. So this is the graph that I have created. About the on axis we have date, on y-axis we have price. You can here it's covering the area under the line is also converted into blue. I think if you want, you can change it to so that it shows you on the line, but I will consider it the way it is. And suppose I also want to create a similar kind of graph from my data 2. What I will do, I will insert the time series. So to create another. So I will go to my page 1. I have accidentally added the second page. Now what I will do, I will insert another time series graph, but I want this to be based on data 2. So what I will say, I will remove it from here, that I remove the data source. I will add a new data. I will say create new data source, and I will upload my second data set about the market data. So market data open. It's uploading again. So once the processing will get complete, you can see the status processing. Once the processing is complete, so I can connect it now. So, and this, you can see that this data have the second variable price index 2. Let's say add to report. And I'll go back. I will change it a bit. I will say date dimension is time dimension this, and I will say matrix is based on price index. So you can see this is my second data set. But suppose if I want to get both the graphs in on the same plot, how I can do this? So we will be repeating almost the same logic. So what I will do, I will select my first data set, and then I will say right click it, and then I will say duplicate it. So once I duplicated it, I will just move it a bit down, and after that what I will do, you can see that I have selected this data set. If you guys see that there is no compulsory need that you have to plot this second data set. I have just plotted it because I want to import the second data set, or I want to connect my second data set with this report. Therefore I just plotted this. But maybe if you want just the one plot in which you want to see the data from two data sources, then you just need this graph which I have just selected. So what I will do now, I will go to again blend data. Once it's showing me that you want to add another data source, I will say yes, and I will select my second data that I have already added to this report. So I will select it. I will be mentioning it. Automatically have decided the join keys are date in both variables. So this is an important thing, and I will add price index 2 under my matrix, because after the data got blended, I want this variable to be appear in my report. So I'll say save. I think the process got completed. Now I can close it. So now you can see that in this graph we have now two lines of about two indexes, price indexes, and the data for both for each price index is coming from the different data source. So you can see that how a data blended option allows you to report data points from two different data sources. You can even add 3 or 4 data sources in your graph. So that's why this blend data option is very useful, especially when you are dealing with a lot of data and there are key variables in different data set, and you want to show those key variables within one graph. And another thing is that if you remove these graphs, this third graph, the blended graph, will not get disturbed. So if I remove it, delete it, because I don't need it much. So you can see that I have now one graph which is based on two data sets, and I did it based on blended data. So this is all about the blended data. Thank you for watching the video.